A police siren blares in the distance. A black man in a sleek black sedan pulls calmly to the side of the road, unaware that what's about to unfold will become the most talked about traffic stop in the city's history. Within minutes, a racist officer's arrogance will explode in humiliation, because the man he just pulled over isn't a criminal, but the new head of internal affairs. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to her, because this story will make you believe that justice always finds its way. It was a bright Monday morning in Chicago when Detective David Reynolds left home for his first official day as the newly appointed head of internal affairs, the highest-ranking officer responsible for investigating corruption and misconduct within the police department. David had served for over 20 years, building a reputation for integrity, fairness, and a calm authority that made even the toughest officers think twice before crossing him. But despite his new title and achievements, David had learned long ago that no badge or rank could fully protect him from prejudice. Driving through the city streets, David wore his signature gray suit, his badge clipped discreetly inside his jacket. He didn't drive an extravagant car, just a clean black Lincoln sedan. As he passed through a suburban district, he noticed a police cruiser pull out behind him. He didn't think much of it, until the cruiser's lights suddenly flashed red and blue. David sighed, pulling over. In his rearview mirror, he saw two officers step out. One, a younger white officer named Barnes, approached the car with an air of swagger. The other, an older partner, hung back, looking uncertain. Barnes' hand hovered near his holster as he barked, "License and registration." David lowered his window, remaining calm. "Good morning, officer. May I ask what the problem is?" Barnes sneered. "Don't get smart with me. You were driving too slow, looked suspicious. Where you headed, huh?" David handed over his license and registration. "Just on my way to work." Barnes glanced at the ID, his eyes narrowing. "David Reynolds? What do you do for a living?" "I work for the city," David replied evenly. "Yeah, sure you do," Barnes muttered, walking back to his cruiser. His partner gave him a wary look. "Barnes, you sure about this?" he whispered. "That name sounds familiar." But Barnes ignored him. He ran the license, hoping to find something, anything. When nothing popped up, he decided to escalate. Returning to the car, Barnes ordered, "Step out of the vehicle." David looked him in the eye. "Officer, is there a reason you're asking me to step out?" "Because I said so." Barnes snapped. "You people always got something to hide." The words hung heavy in the air. The older officer shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. David slowly stepped out, keeping his hands visible. Barnes frisked him aggressively, searching his pockets. Finding nothing, he moved to the trunk. "Pop it open," he ordered. David pressed the button. The trunk was spotless, briefcase, coat, a few files neatly stacked. Barnes smirked. "What's this? Documents? You running some kind of scam?" David remained silent. He knew this wasn't about suspicion, it was about ego. Barnes wanted to assert dominance, and David wasn't going to feed into it. "You're awfully quiet," Barnes mocked. "You think you're too good to answer me?" That's when David finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "I think you're about to make the biggest mistake of your career." Barnes laughed. "Oh yeah? And why's that?" David took out his wallet and flipped it open, revealing his gold badge. The sun glinted off the engraved words, "Chief of Internal Affairs, Chicago Police Department." The color drained from Barnes' face. His partner's eyes widened in disbelief. "Wait. Chief Reynolds?" "Sir, I didn't realize." David fixed his gaze on Barnes. "No, you didn't realize. You saw a black man in a nice car and assumed he didn't belong. You profiled me. You disrespected me. And you just violated half a dozen protocols in front of your own partner." Barnes stammered. "Sir, I thought." "You thought wrong," David cut him off sharply. "And thinking like that is exactly why internal affairs exists." The older officer stepped forward, panic in his voice. "Sir, please, he didn't mean." "Oh, he meant every word," David said firmly. "And he's about to answer for them." He pulled out his phone and made a call. "This is Chief Reynolds. I need a field supervisor at my location immediately." Within minutes, 2 patrol cars and a supervising sergeant arrived. Barnes stood pale and trembling as the sergeant approached. "What's going on here, sir?" David turned calmly. "Your officer decided to pull me over without cause. Then he searched my vehicle without consent. I'm sure your body cameras caught everything." The sergeant swallowed hard, nodding. "Yes, sir. We'll retrieve the footage." "Good," David said. "And make sure it goes straight to my office. This department doesn't need officers who abuse their badge." As Barnes was escorted away, he looked back, shame and regret all over his face. David didn't gloat, he simply watched with quiet authority. He knew firing Barnes wouldn't fix the system overnight, but accountability had to start somewhere. That evening, news of the incident spread through the department like wildfire. Some officers were shocked, others weren't surprised at all. The next morning, David called a mandatory meeting. Standing before hundreds of uniformed men and women, he said, "What happened yesterday wasn't about one bad officer. It was about a mindset that still lingers, one that sees color before character, suspicion before respect. That ends now. Every officer under my command will be retrained. Every complaint will be investigated. And anyone caught dishonoring this badge will face the consequences, no exceptions." The room was silent. For the first time, many realized that their new chief was not just another administrator, he was a man who had lived the experiences they often ignored. Later that week, David visited a community center where local kids were learning about law enforcement. A young boy raised his hand and asked, "Sir, are all police bad?" David smiled gently. "No, son. But some forget what the badge means. My job is to remind them that the badge is supposed to protect, not intimidate." The boy nodded, eyes wide with admiration. David placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Maybe one day, you'll wear one, and do it right." That night, David drove home the same route. As he passed the spot where he'd been stopped, he slowed down, remembering every second. The humiliation, the anger, but also the moment of power when truth flipped the story. He smiled faintly, whispering to himself, "Justice isn't loud. It's steady." Then he drove on, the city lights reflecting on his windshield like beacons of change. If you believe in fairness and standing up for what's right, hit that subscribe button and show some love to your parents. And before you go, tell me, from which part of the country are you watching this video?